Hey people on the worldwide berry pipes, I'm Mr. Spork and these are Mr. Spork's hands. It is the start of the holidays up here in Canada this weekend. Our Thanksgiving is Monday. I know that's a few weeks earlier than our friends south celebrated. I think they do theirs at the end of November, but no matter where you are in the world, it's going to be holiday feasting season soon enough, and that means it's time to think about one of our classics, cranberry sauce. I get my cranberries right up the road at my friendly neighborhood cranberry bog because we go quite a lot of them out here in eastern Canada, but you can get them fresh just about anywhere on the planet this time of year now. So what I suggest you do is don't do what I saw today. At least 4 or 5 other carts at the grocery store. Do not buy your cranberry sauce in a can. It does not come in a can. It does not make that sploochy noise. I know it's fun. I know that wobbly cylinder shape is kind of hilarious at the holiday table, but please make some fresh. Buy a can for the sight and sound, but make some fresh to actually eat. Cranberry sauce is one of those insanely simple recipes. Why people don't make it, I don't understand. If you watch nothing more than the next 30 seconds, remember this recipe. You take 3 parts of fresh cranberries, 1 part of sugar, 1 part of water. You boil them in a pan until they kind of start to pop, and once they've started to pop, do watch them very carefully because I promise you cranberries will boil over. But once they start to pop, you take a potato masher to them and mash them down. Once they've cooked out to the consistency you want, you throw them in the fridge. A couple hours later they chill. Boom, you've got cranberry sauce made fresh with your own 2 hands. It's not that difficult. But hey, I'm not going to do plain old ordinary cranberry sauce. I've got to jazz it up a little bit. And I've always used the flavors from chai, the Indian spiced milk tea. Chai flavors just perfectly marry with this because the cranberries are really, really tart. So I want to get flavors like cinnamon, cassia cinnamon. I want to get peppercorn in there. I want to get cardamom in there. I want to get some ginger in there. I even want to get a little bit of orange in sometimes. Those flavors marry perfectly with the really strong tart character of cranberry, but you're probably asking yourself, how do I get those flavors in there? Well, you could certainly take some pre-ground cardamom and some pre-ground peppercorn, put them in there, maybe even some ground ginger, but the way I like to do it, even some ground cinnamon as well, but the way I like to do it is I make a tea. I don't use actual black tea, I just use the spices and I steep them for 10, 15, 20 minutes. You can't over-steep the spices. So what I do, I'm going to take some ginger root, and it can actually be your oldest, gnarliest, knobbly piece of ginger because, again, you're going to steep it and strain it. I use one of these fine mesh tea strainers. I'm going to take a little bit of black peppercorn, get that in there, and you could certainly start with whole green cardamom pods. They're usually going to be fresher that way, but you can also get what's called decorticated cardamom. That's these little seeds that have been taken out of the green pods. So you're going to put just a few of those in there. I'm going to go ahead and take my trusty old mortar and pestle and crush them down a little bit. Get them nice and ground. Do this as much or as little as you want. You can certainly go into a electric coffee mill if you want to go that route, but the finer you grind it, the less measure of spices you want to use. You don't want to overpower, but I'm going to take those freshly crushed spices, put them in there. I'm even going to take a couple of my cinnamon sticks, and then I'm going to take some boiling hot water. Again, it's 1 part water, 1 part sugar, 3 parts berries, so plan accordingly. I got a little bit more than a cup there. That'll be just about right. And I'm going to let this steep and steam. Sorry about that with the camera and the steam. I'm going to let this steep and steam for probably at least 10 minutes, maybe even 20 or 30 minutes if I forget about something and come back to it. You're not going to hurt it at all. As soon as that happens, I'll come back and show you how to finish cooking off the cranberry sauce. I know some of you diehards are going to say, but I've got to have that sploochy cylinder for my childhood memories coming out of the can. Well, guess what? You can take a can and use that as the mold. You're also going to probably want to strain the sauce when you're done so there's no chunks at all. I like the chunks personally, but if you want to strain it, make it super thin, and then you add another box of fruit pectin. It's going to set up just, as solid as any jelly ever would. It's going to come out of the can with that splooch just like you like. You can certainly do that. Absolutely not necessary to get great flavor. This tea is almost done. I'm going to go ahead and get my sugar. That's, again, 3 cups of cranberries, so 1 cup of sugar. You don't have to do this recipe by weight, but it's about 350 grams of cranberries to 200 grams of sugar, if that's the way you want to do it. There are other flavors to try to get in there as well. A lot of times people put in orange. Some orange peels would certainly work in there, but the cheat that I use is to just take a spoonful of my homemade orange marmalade. If you want to learn how to make that, the recipe is out on my channel. But I'm going to take, oh, that's a good dose right there. I've even seen people put in a can of mandarin orange segments or slices, or if you've got a satsuma or a clementine laying around, you can certainly peel those down, throw the skin in. Just use big pieces. Make sure you can pull that skin back out so nobody bites into it. But certainly chop up the fruit itself and throw it in there. This infusion of chai flavors is just about done. That's had, oh, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. And I'm going to get a cup. I've got just a little bit more than a cup in there, so I'm going to save a bit. That is all it's going to take. This is going to come up to temperature. I do want to go ahead and put in just a tiny little pinch of salt. It'll help bring out the flavors. That's a quarter, half teaspoon at most. And simply because I like a little extra cinnamon flavor, I'm going to go ahead and put in a few dashes of pre-ground cinnamon in addition to the sticks that we steeped in that infusion. I'm going to go ahead and time-lapse this for you guys just so you can see the progression on the berries. And I really do want you to see how much this will foam up, because I don't want you guys to have a kitchen disaster on Thanksgiving holiday when you're trying to cook a meal for 30 people coming to your house in an hour. Do watch it like a hawk, though, because that foam is going to come just the second you turn away, like it always does. So if you do start to get a little bit too much foam over, bubble over, remember that the quickest way to get that foam to die down is to take it off of the heat. So remember that trick. You will thank me later. Burnt cranberries taste and smell horrible. That's really all there is to it. I'm just going to play a quick little game of cranberry whack-a-mole with my potato masher to catch those last few holdout berries. You can see it's relatively thin at this point, but don't worry, all that pectin that's naturally in the cranberries is already activated when you got it up above boiling. It's going to chill very nicely in the fridge. It's going to be almost as thick as that junk that comes in the can. So please stop buying the cans and make a batch fresh from berries. Your cranberry farmer will love you. If you want this recipe and all the details, please go up to my blog. It's up there in the corner. That link will take you to this recipe and a whole lot of others. And as always, I do appreciate you liking and thumbs up and tweety grandma spacing and all that other stuff. If you haven't, please do subscribe to the channel, because that's what lets me keep doing this for you, as well as the ad that runs after this. Let that play out and they throw me a few pennies. Until next time, I'm Mr. Spork. These are Mr. Spork's hands, and now it's to the fridge with this batch. We'll see you soon. Cheers.